we're going to look at playoff teams. We predicted all the division winners on our preview series, but some of those were 3-man weaves. Some of them were just 2-man shows. So there might be some interesting new additions here on the preview series, but we got wildcard teams. We got seeds. We're going to play this all out. Producer Stone wanted to do a little fan fiction here, go through the entire bracket, which he asked if I had the games played out to get to our Super Bowl winner. I said, yes, I actually did do it. So I was able to copy and paste it from my notes. So it's kind of perfect. Kind of played out chalky anyways. But first, let's just go with your AFC teams, Matt, 1 through 7. Who are you predicting to make the dance on the AFC?
All right, so I have number 1 seed, Baltimore Ravens, number 2, Kansas City Chiefs, number 3, the Buffalo Bills, number 4, the Houston Texans. My 3 wildcard teams are Broncos, Chargers, Jaguars in that order. So I am fully drinking the Jacksonville Jaguars Kool-Aid here, and they're my final AFC wildcard team.
What you're manifesting with the Jaguars? You're just like,
sure.
I'm willing this to be a fun,
buddy. I'm helping you out. One of us had their quarterback as a top 10 quarterback this year. So if anything, you've got way more at stake on this Jacksonville Jaguars thing than I do. I have a fascination with the receivers and the head coach. You're more embedded with this Jaguars thing than I am. You go from you have a ban on them. We're not talking about the Jaguars to Trevor Lawrence still top 10 quarterback. I'm really manifesting this for you, pal.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I get some of the collateral love. I know I couldn't put all my eggs in one basket here. I'll go through my AFC teams and you'll see who my 7 seed is, and you'll see what I mean about manifesting some things. Same top 5. Ravens 1, Chiefs 2, Bills 3, Texans 4, Broncos 5. Then my other 2 wildcard teams. I have the Steelers at 6. I'm a believer in that defense, even if it's elderly. I do think they just have a lot of juice up front, and they just have a lot. They just have a lot of good talent. And I actually think the offense could be okay. Even though I know I'm not saying good, but I think okay enough to get that 6 seed. 7, going with the Patriots. So that is a bet on Drake May taking a lead, the defense, and a very easy schedule. That is also a part of this where, some of what Vrabel's doing is a little interesting. I'm keeping my eye on it because, Vrabel's now playing games with Jabril Peppers, cut him after they say they're going to trade Kyle Duggar for a couple weeks, which actually made sense because of scheme stuff. But now Peppers is cut, and I don't know. I'm just Vrabel's talking about rats. I'm like, you're doing a lot of Belichick shtick right now without a lot of the, I don't know, the reason behind it, I guess. Not that Belichick had a great weekend anyways to emulate, but that's my 7 for the AFC. Enough about TCU, North Carolina blowouts. Let's move on to the NFC. This one I think is wide open. I could have made a case for 13 teams to make the NFC playoffs, and I could even bump that up to 14 if I include the Panthers. Maybe interesting friskiness there. But your NFC teams 1 through 7, Matt, who'd you got?
Yep, I've got the Eagles at 1, Packers at 2, 49ers at 3. I have the Panthers at 4. I have them winning the NFC South. Only NFC. I feel a little less good about this after, Jalen Coker goes on IR.
Because why? Please tell me why you feel less good about this.
Yeah, right.
Is it because their left tackle just got his appendix taken out?
Yeah, their left tackle gets their appendix taken out. Jalen Coker's on IR. I don't know if you saw this or we tweet this over the weekend, but my wife and I always do take a little end of summer wine trip. This year we actually go to the we went to the Linden, Virginia area, so it's pretty close to Shenandoah National Park. Yeah. We hike all the way up to the peak of Stony Mountain. I literally pull up my phone to take a picture, and I get the notification Jalen Coker is on IR in that exact moment. I almost threw my phone and myself off the cliff after getting that. It just, what a horrible time. But anyways, I think they withstand that after bringing Hunter Renfrow back, and they win the NFC South. I just think it's such a weird division this year. Then I've got the 3 wildcard teams.
It is.
I've got Lions, Commanders, Rams. I probably should have said this to Producer Stone, but I think it makes more sense if I go Lions, Rams, Commanders, just with the way I'm going to flow the rest of the show. But yeah, so Commanders sneak in as the 7th seed there.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think the NFC is wide open. That's so perfect. My Panthers comment, and then you actually had them in your playoffs. That's even better. I don't think anyone was had this. This is like when a couple years ago, when the 49ers were rolling, and then Brock Purdy got banged up and he had a concussion, and he was like one of the first guys to come back after just a week with being diagnosed with a concussion. And a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, Sam Darnold's going to play in the 49ers offense." Like people are tweeting at me or like by happenstance, like happy for me. That's how I felt when Adam Thielen got traded. And I felt like a lot of people reached out to you as a Jalen Coker believer and fan. I also like Jalen Coker a lot, but I just thought that as well. When Thielen got traded, I don't think so. I saw so many people were just happy for Matt Harmon and his Jalen Coker love and affinity. And then it just all got taken right back from you, which, yeah. It's cool. Yeah.
It was a fun 40. It was a fun 48 hours.
It was. Everybody was a winner. Thielen seemed happy. He was celebrating with his wife and family to go back to Minnesota. If you don't know this about Minnesotans, because I can claim them halfway, and I'm also like Seattleite too, and I got a little New Yorker in there, is that Minnesotans love them some Minnesota. They love being back in Minnesota and not leaving Minnesota and staying in the Twin Cities or wherever they're from in Minnesota and going to their cabin in Minnesota and going to college somewhere and then coming back to Minnesota. So I'm sure Adam Thielen was very happy to be back inside the Twin Cities. But all right, my NFC team's wide open. I had the same top two though. Eagles 1, Packers 2. I would have had the Packers 2 even before the Micah Parsons trade. So how about that? So yeah, I'm not just a Johnny come lately with them. All right, Seahawks 3. Yeah. Bucks 4, Vikings 5, Cardinals 6. I'm a caricature of myself. And the Bears 7. Just a lot I wanted to make cases for. I think this, if you had the Lions in there and I don't, I think they're going to be right in there. I just think maybe some tiebreakers, some funkiness happens this season. I truly just think this NFC is so wide open. It's not that I'm a total disbeliever. It's just that I just want to have more fun cases to talk to. And also, this is a stat that's widely shared. For the past 35 years, there have been 4 new playoff teams compared to the previous season. So my 4 teams were Patriots, Seahawks, Cardinals, and Bears. Just had just thread that needle, make it make sense. I think the 49ers defense and the Rams defenses give me a little bit of worry. And that's why I kind of came off of them. But again, this is stuff that after a month, I'll put my foot right back in my mouth. Like if 49ers defense can show they can stop the run, Michael Williams hits the ground running. They got those young guys that maybe I'm more mid-ish on, like show up early to help out that defense. I am a believer in the offense, no matter who's catching passes, no matter what. I think Shanahan can create a top 10 offense out of nothing. I really do. But that's just that defense gives me worry. And so that's kind of how I was framing all this is who do I think can have a top 10, top 12 offense, who can have a top 10, top 12 defense. That's basically how I kind of gauge all these teams. And then the Rams, same thing. Stafford seems like he's good to go, but against the back, got to see with Alaric Jackson, and then just the defensive back end gives me, again, worries. It's just one weakness that I think other teams maybe don't have in their division and maybe in the conference. So that's, if you're curious. And then Commanders, I'm sure we'll talk plenty about, but same stuff, defensive worries more than anything. I think Jay Daniels is going to be great. I just think that just a little worried about that defense and maybe a little bit of other drop-offs from like the veteran team, but we'll see. I think the Lions is pretty controversial though. So if any Lions fans want to yell at me about it, totally get it. Because the defense I think is still going to be good. I still think the offense got plenty of good stuff, but I know you have those teams on there. So
yeah, I think the Lions are a team that could finish top 10, top 12 in offense and defense. So that was why, to me, they still made sense as a fifth seed. And I think as much as I'm bullish on the Packers, I don't think I'm so bullish on the fact that they'll like run away with the division. Although I guess I think this will be very competitive. And the Vikings were a team that I've toyed. This is like classic, maybe week one, like right at the edge of week one, like second guessing everything I thought this offseason. Yeah. And you have the Vikings as a playoff team. Yeah, totally. Because to me, I've thought about the Vikings all year. It's like, well, yeah, they've always been great. As a passing team statistically under Kevin O'Connell's watch, since 2022, they're 7th as a team in yards per pass attempt. And it's like most of it's Kirk Cousins. Then it's like Sam Darnold and then Nick Mullins and Josh Dobbs. So it's been a lot of different guys. But now it's an inexperienced quarterback, whatever. So maybe they'll take a small step back. But what if like JJ McCarthy's just good? what if the first round quarterback is good, and I think that part hasn't been discussed enough, where it's been like, well, it is a first year starter. But yeah, again, like what if he just comes out and he's better than Sam Darnold was last year? I realize that sounds crazy now, but if you had said that 365 days ago, nobody would have thought that was crazy, because Sam Darnold was not a good quarterback. He'd never strung together like a month's worth of good, consistent play prior to being with the Minnesota. He'd had moments, but I'm talking like a full month. That had never happened in his career. So they were a team to me that I really second guessed, like not putting them in over the Commanders or the Rams, who are the two teams I'm most suspicious on in my like playoff bracketing. So yeah, to me, that was definitely something that stood out. The difference between one area, Nate, I think is interesting that we're in lockstep on. Neither one of us has the Bengals missing the playoffs or making the playoffs, and this would be the third year in a row they've missed. Like, I think then we start to have some pretty uncomfortable conversations about like, okay, are the right people in charge here? Like, what are there changes that need to happen here? Because the Bengals have basically just been running the same old thing, I like some of the way they've done the contract stuff, everything like that, the way they've built the team. That's kind of beside the point. But just like, hey, we have a great quarterback, we have a great offense, we'll figure the rest out later. Well, if you're 3 years in a row not figuring it out, like then I think that gets to a pretty uncomfortable point from a team level perspective.
My one thing is that they're the Bengals, and if you fire a coach, you have to pay the coach still while you pay a new coach, and that's why I think no matter to Bengals to me, and maybe I'm just like I set it so much in stone, and then when I watched them preseason, I'm like, yep, I'm good with them. I really do trust the offense. Like I feel as good about the Bengals offense. I know so many people will even want more than what they've already shown, but I just trust it so much. And I trust that this defense is going to be bad. I know that's not fair. We have so many surprises year in, year out. But when I look at the personnel, when I look at the coach, who, no offense to Al Golden, but he's never coordinated NFL defenses, and what I saw from the preseason, and then when I'm reading, I'm like, no way this defense is good. I don't think this defense can even sniff top, average. And so that's where, all right, I've seen this. Maybe it's just me just like, okay, set in stone, this is what they are. They're, to me in my head, 8, 9, 9, and 8, locked in. Like one of those two records, and then it's just going to be based on what everybody else does if that 9 and 8 makes the playoffs. So it's like, and maybe that's not fair to the Bengals, but I do think I love the offense. I really do, and I can't wait to see it this year, and love what Joe Burrow can do. But like, Marvin Lewis was there from 2003 to 2018. I think that no matter what, they'll get one more year and everything. But I get what you mean. Like, where do the changes come from? Like, the Browns aren't going to fire themselves. So is it just like next year we're just talking about the same exact thing? Oh, Trey Hendrickson's contract. We're doing that the whole story again. Are we getting anything out of these young guys? Where this development going to come from? So I don't know. I'm with you. Just get the Bengals for me. I maybe just have that in my head. If it's fair, it's not. I think others are higher on them, but I just feel like the AFC is so tough. That kind of the upper part's so tough. I do not think they're a contender, but even to make the playoffs, that defense can get just picked apart. So it's just going to be a bunch of shootouts, which I think are coin flips. So 8, 9, 9, and 8. Vikings, though, the Vikings, I think I've had more changed feelings on throughout this offseason, where I was super high on them during free agency period. And then there was just kind of the weird, quarterback stuff that turned out to be nothing. Rodgers, Daniel Jones, all this stuff. But, and I was like, okay, what the hell's going on there? And then I kind of got lower on them, but now I've come back around to my original feelings, where my original argument was the thing that made them fall apart was their interior offensive line fell apart last year. The entire offensive line fell apart. Cam Robinson, who just got beat out by a second-round rookie in the Texans from Minnesota, by the way. But I thought they boosted that, so that's going to help the run game. And like you just said with Sam Darnold, even if I like Sam Darnold more than most people, the argument for the Vikings is, okay, if you think Sam Darnold do you think J.J. McCarthy can be worse? Or so are you just thinking, like, do you think J.J. McCarthy is going to be the 20th best quarterback, 22nd, whatever you want to consider him, 16th, somewhere in that starter range? Well, they have a lot of other stuff that's going to help them win games. Coordinator or play caller, Justin Jefferson, a better run game, I think, with that interior offensive line. Jordan Mason helping out, punching in scores in the red zone and short yardage. I think the defense is interesting. I think we all had them as a top 10 defense. I think that's a unanimous thing. So they added John Allen and Hargrave, and I think maybe their biggest weakness is not even the quarterback, because they're going to be able to, is whether they're going to be able to stop the run consistently. I think that's their biggest weakness more than the quarterback. And I think that's just a weird way to put it. But I've come around on it where I'm just like, yeah, back to a playoff team. Like I just went all the way back to my original gut feeling when I first had about them in March or April when they were kind of putting this team together. So long-term, longer discussion, but I think this year they can still make the playoffs. Let's look at those playoff brackets. Who was your Super Bowl pick and Final Four teams? Matt Harmon, let's hear it.
Yeah, Final Four teams was chalk. Ravens, Chiefs, Eagles, Packers. So I'm chalk there. Nothing interesting, but I picked Ravens, obviously to represent the AFC, and then Eagles to represent the NFC. And I've got the Ravens winning the Super Bowl this year. So to me, man, and I think it's gonna be a fun game to watch. 31 Ravens, Eagles 28. I just look at this AFC. I don't have AFC North. I don't have any other teams coming out of this division. Baltimore just looks head and shoulders better than all the other teams in this division. So like you have the Steelers in the playoffs. Neither one of us have the Bengals. I don't think you gave any thought to the Cleveland Browns. I certainly did not. So to me, it just this Ravens team looks ready to just like. I'm not going to say like run through the AFC, but they're so talented. I think the offense can take another step this year. Lamar Jackson can be right there in contention. I didn't make him one of my MVPs. Is just like, what's the point of saying, what's the point of doing like Lamar Jackson can win the MVP? We know he can win the MVP every year. He's done it twice already, but again, he can have one of those seasons. He can, again, the offense can be better. I love some of the way the defense is evolving. I will talk about a Ravens player at some point in this exercise as a defensive player. But yeah, man, I just think this Ravens team's really well set up. So I've got them winning the Super Bowl this year.
Well, so do I, Matt. We have the same two finalists. We have the same Final Four teams. I have the Ravens beating the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I feel really good about the Ravens. Like, and that's having said, I actually feel better about the Chiefs than I think most people. But the Bills defense gives me a lot of worry, and that's why I've kind of shied. I love what the offense is going to be. I love Josh Allen. Think he can win back-to-back MVPs, and I wouldn't be shocked. Spoilers, I did not pick him. But I do think that defense just gives me worry. The more I look at it, Sean McDermott and Bobby Babbage are good coaches, but it's just kind of like a common theme. Like they try to patch up so much, but I don't think they can go so far. They just have so many question marks for me. So, I went with Ravens over Eagles. I think I was tempted to put the Packers in the Super Bowl, but I kept them as a Final Four team. Kind of went chalky throughout the playoff run. I do think, the Broncos and Vikings can win a game as a wild card team. But I actually thought, I was looking at the NFC, like in my predicted bracket, if you see this on the YouTube show, is Seahawks, Cardinals, and then Packers, Bears, get some division games, in that playoff. I was like, I'm really right. I'm really fanficking this. I should work for a TV company. Set up the structure of the playoffs 6 months in advance. Just really just looking at this, I feel so good about what the Ravens are. I look at it again, top 10, top 12 offense, which I feel like they're going to be a top 3 offense. And then top 10, top 12 defense. And I feel like they're going to be a top 5 defense. Like it's pretty much comes down to that. Like my biggest question mark is a new kicker and whether Roquan Smith is in shape. Like those are, seriously, those are just I'm half being funny, but seriously, those are the biggest questions I have. Okay. But I look at them statistically. I look at who they added this offseason. I know what the offense is. And I like the little small additions. DeAndre Hopkins, is not prime DeAndre Hopkins, but as a role player, he fits what this offense needs.
Still got something.
So it's just, it was just, they just have a lot of the answers that I like. Can you run the ball? Can you stop the run? Can you be explosive? And can you stop explosives? I think they check all those boxes. And they got a quarterback that's pretty freaking awesome.
It's just such an obnoxious time to be a Ravens fan, too, because it's like, oh, well, we know all this stuff. And like, I was about to say, they've got the great continuity, too, on top of everything that you just laid out there.
Yes.
They bring back this head coach. offensive coordinator for the third year in a row, Zach Orr for the second year in a row.
Yep.
And yeah, to me, it's just like, if I was a Ravens fan, I'd be thinking, oh my God. And like, does any of this matter? Because we just we're doing this again. Easier path, right? They only have to take on, in your scenario, they only have to take on one of the AFC, superpowers, right? They only got Kansas. No disrespect to we both have the Broncos as the 5th seed, which I thought was interesting. But no disrespect to the 5th seed Broncos, who you've got them beating in the divisional round. They just got to get through the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, which law of averages. I know the Chiefs have just obliterated law of averages, but at some point, one of these two other teams, Ravens, Bills, got to break through. Why not this year, where again everything is just so well set up? Like really, just that's the thing. They just have to play better in the divisional round of the playoffs, which I think they can do, and then do it again in the conference championship. And then do it again in the Super Bowl. I don't see on paper why that can't happen, Nate.
I think it's maybe not fair, but it's like, to me, it's like who on the math on the AFC is just like, I only can consider the top 3 teams really the true contenders until the Texans prove they can run the ball and the Broncos can be explosive through the air. And so those are like my 2 questions. After a month, after 6 weeks, I might be like, yep. Okay. You're added to the contender conversation to me. The NFC though, it's like, whoever. I can make a case. I say I can make 13 cases, 14 cases to make the playoffs. I can make cases for so many teams to go on a run, and who can find something this season. So that's why I think it's going to be really fun. It's just, I keep reiterating it because I think the 2 most interesting divisions are the NFC North and NFC West. And for different reasons, but also just interesting units, quarterbacks, just rookies that have to, or second-year quarterbacks, rookies that have to be like impact players, new coaches. I just think it's a really, really cool conference that's going to be fun to keep track of.